Hi guys, welcome to Root Stem and welcome to this painting tutorial for these amazing Escher figures. Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me. If you do like the content, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing and all the usual good stuff you can do for our content creators here on YouTube. In today's video we are going to be painting up some Escher. We're going to be looking at various different styles of wild hair colours, as well as doing leopard print and basic black work, and of course the distinctive yellow armour that I've got on here. All of his tutorials are going to be, the whole video will contain tutorials, but I might even clip some bits up. If you are wanting to skip to certain sections, just have a look down below, have a look at the time frame. You can always fast forward to what you need. So to start with, we are going to prime these ladies with some Mechanica Standard Grey. Let's crack on. So prep wise, we've gone and prepped the little cats by spraying them up with Glacier. Yep, that's the one. And then I've actually gone and done a little bit of colouring on them. I'll come to them in a second. And the rest of the models that I've actually had built, I've just painted up with Mechanica Standard Grey. They are going to get a bit of an airbrush treatment. If you're not going to airbrush, you can just do this bit by hand. It just takes a while to do it. Hence why I'm going to do it by airbrush, because I need to get these painted up as quick as I can. For these little cats here, we're talking Green Stuff World Purple. Because it's a brighter purple than the Games Workshop contrast paint one. We've got a Blood Angels Red on one of the cats. I've done a Frost Heart on the other cat. I'm just trying to keep them all bright colours. I'm probably going to do a bit more highlighting on them, which I'll come through to eventually. And I've got on this one's the Affirmatic Blue. Hopefully you can see that on screen. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get some Avalon Sunset and get these airbrushed up. So completed with the Avalon Sunset. I painted all the aspects, mainly the armour that is now going to be yellow. Can take several layers with it having a Mechanica Standard Grey undercoat, but it's all worth it in the end. Next up, we're going to be using some flash kits, and we're going to kind of paint spot highlights and on the cloth, make sure that we're getting from particular directions. We just need to go all over the yellow again, just making sure that we've got some highlights with the flash kits yellow, and then we'll get on with the wash. The next step is to use some Cassandra Yellow. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. And we're going to do the shades. So we should now have the Avalon Sunset with the airbrushed. If you haven't got an airbrush, you could have just applied the Avalon Sunset and then of course dry brush the flash kits. We are going to dry brush again, but we're going to put this Cassandra, I keep calling it Cassandra Yellow, but it's Cassandra Yellow all over the yellow we've done. Giving it a nice recessed shade, and then that's all nice and dry and looking well. So let's get some flash kits yellow, dry brush that again over the top. There we go. We're just picking up some of the edges now with that dry brush, looking good. Next up, we've got rat skin flesh. Let's get those flesh pieces made. Okay, so the next bit, I am actually going to be painting the skin, and as you can see, I've already got quite a bit of it done. What's happened, I'll zoom in a little bit there, is I have lost the footage. It's become corrupted, so I do apologise. This is a base of rat skin flesh and then Cadian flesh tone. So I put rat skin flesh on, I used the Reichland flesh shade to paint it, and then once I put the Reichland flesh shade on, I put rat skin flesh on again, just leaving the recesses, and then layering up with Cadian flesh tone. So this bit you'll see me put some more Cadian flesh tone on, but yeah, so apologies, but let's crack on. can see on here, we've got a slight bit of definition. Next thing, we're going to water down, and I mean seriously water down, some Kislev flesh. And we're going to just kind of pick little bits. So, just going to kind of, looking at that. Kind of as if we're edge highlighting the skin. Don't worry too much if it looks too bright. It will calm down because, of course, we've finned it. Right, that's nicely done. So we've got the flesh sorted. Let's get some leopard print done. Now, I do kind of want a bit of leopard print on here. The Escher can be a little bit odd when it comes to sort of what you want to paint on leopard print, what you don't want to paint on leopard print. I'm probably going to do maybe a leopard print mohawk, because it has to be done as a leopard print mohawk. Always has to be done as a leopard print mohawk. But I'm not quite sure. I might get some more leopard print. I've done this bit, which is normally what a lot of people would do as leopard print. I've done that kind of like the standard Escher yellow, and I've done that on a lot of the other models. These guys I may do a bit more leopard print. Some of the yellow may become leopard print, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint my leopard print. So I'll use my plasma gun model to show you. We're going to start off with some XV88 as the base. This is quite a thick paint, so you are going to want to thin this thing. With that colour applied, we're now going to use Xandri dust. We're going to thin it adequately, of course, and paint that on, just leaving the recess. Once we've layered, let's get some Seraphim sepia on this. Oh, as an update, don't put the Xandri dust onto the hair just yet. Put the Seraphim sepia on first. Once dry, Xandri dust, just dry brush that across the top, and then you can also dry brush a little bit of Carrick stone for the highlight, a bit more of an extreme highlight. That's only if you're doing the hair. Rest of the skin, the rest of the leopard print, not skin, leopard print, just layer it up. And that's what it looks like with Xandri dust, with the Carrick stone dry brushed on. As you can probably see on some of the models, I have gone ahead with some black. I'm basically just using, just to try and get the black on quick, the AK Play Markers black. That just allows me to be able to do like a batch of them at a time. I hate painting black because it has a habit of needing several layers to be able to get it on there. Be careful with the Playmakers because it can come out quite thick because it's quite runny, so sometimes it runs on a little too much. So just try and make sure that you've got a little, I see he's got some weird discs that I use. You can see it's still kind of glossy from there, and I just kind of roll it on there or paint it onto there first, just to try and take it away from the brush before I put it onto the model. So one of the next glorious steps to try and get these ladies ready is on the brown that we've done for the leopard print, is to do the leopard print spots. Now, hopefully, camera will focus. As you can see from there, I've kind of already done them, but they're not really spots, kind of like semicircles, a bit more like a horseshoe, and you just kind of, you're trying to do a circle, but you're just kind of putting them in a random pattern. It can be as dense or as light as you want them to be, but you are just putting them as a random pattern around the leopard print designs. When the rest of the model is painted, everything else will be a little bit darker, so that will shine through. But that is simply pretty much all you're going to be doing, because we're going to be doing a hell of a lot of this, so we don't want to be too, we don't want to be spending too long a time on it. We just want to get it down so that when somebody looks at these models from the tabletop, it looks like they've got leopard print on. Well, a lot of models to do. Let's get cracking. So leopard print spots have been achieved. I've done most of what I can weapons wise black. I'm now going to use the black as well on the remaining bits of trousers and boots, and any sort of these weird pouches that they've got on the backside. So just going to use the Play Markers pen and a combination of the Black Legion, Black Legion contrast paint to get into the nooks and crannies. I'm not going to use this for everything because it can't, there you go, it can't it's not thin enough to be able to get into everything, but it's going to be able to do a majority of the horse work. So I'm going to do that, and then any particular detail I can't get to, that's when I'm going to go revert back to the brush. This is mainly for speed. Black's all on. So our next step is now going to be a quick dry brush of Mechanica Standard Grey, there we are, all over the black areas. You try and use a small dry brush if you can. I've got this, which is basically Games Workshop's. It's just a standard small dry brush, but it works really well. So blacks have been done. I've also gone and put little bits of silver in. You've probably already seen the fact that I've done the majority of the silver. The silver, all I've done for the silver is just gone for Iron Hand Steel with the normal wash. It's nothing overly complicated. If you want to go back over it again with some more Iron Hand Steel after the wash is dried, you can do. It's a very easy sort of metallic to do. I'm not being totally crazy with it, it's just so I can get it on there. Now we've got feathers and we've got all sorts of things that still need doing on this, but I've also put metallics onto the grenades. And I'm going to show you a little trick with the grenade pouches, and then we're going to go on to a general pouch idea in a sec. But what I need to do is just show you a quick thing that I like to do with the grenades, just to show them off. So when I was younger, grenades, when you used to get them as a kid, the plastic ones that you used to play war with, they used to be green, so I like to do mine in varieties of different metallic greens. So I've actually got this green there, and I'm going to be doing, and zoom in, there's two types of grenades on most of them's back. Apologies for the camera wobble. We've got what looks a bit like a crack grenade or a sort of whatever type of grenade. I'm going to be doing that with that particular green. And then next along, this one is going to be done with oak flesh, and that will give you that more traditional sort of like a metallic grenade green look. And there's the green, a quick and easy grenade. Now in the set, we've got some pouches that will also need painting, as you can see from the back of that one. And we've got, if you can have a look at the arm there, there's kind of like wrist, or you know, like kind of, not just wrist, but sort of arm banglets. Why can't I talk today? I just can't. You may even want to sort of do something with gloves. And these are going to be a mixture of browns and reds. So anything that's going to be brown or red, I'm going to actually base it to start with Rhinox hide. So all of that's going to get based up. So anything that's going to be brown, anything that's going to be red, like I say, any of these pieces here, sort of like the little pouch on that one, anything that's kind of like a strap, or maybe you can even do the little, if you've got something that's kind of like a tie wrap. I think, yeah, she's got one there. I'm also going to do her bow red as well, because I've already got a white one. That's a reference, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But yeah, so let's crack on with those. Let's get all of that sorted. So we've got the brown, basically Rhinox hide, nice and thinned on your wet palette. If you need to do two thin coats, do so. Make sure it's got a lovely solid colour, and then we can crack on. Okay, now that the Rhinox hide has dried, we are going to get a tiny with a sponge. We're going to get a little bit, because of course I need some proper control on this. We're going to get some Mornfang brown. We're going to get a tiny sponge. We're going to get something to hold that sponge in. I'm just using some sort of clipper type things. I've forgotten what they're called. And we're just going to sponge this lighter colour onto anything that's kind of leather. Now don't do it on the belts, because you will get a lot of over. And you don't want to, you don't want to put this onto any of the other colours that you've done. If you haven't done any of your colours yet and you're kind of just doing this, then you're perfect, you're fine. Just don't overdo it. Use it as sparing as you can. And then this should start giving a bit of a worn leather look. But like I said, be careful. Don't do it on, for example, the belt there. I'm not going to touch that belt with this. I'm just going to do that bit. Maybe a little bit, tiny bit of stippling effect with an old, smaller brush. But if you crack on, get all that done, double highlight on those, and then we'll come to the red. Now we're going to use corn red. Going to get it nice and thin, of course, and then we're going to put it over the brown, leaving recesses. Like I said with the bow, we're just going to be painting it on, leaving the recess. Next up, some Finn Befieston red. Just apply that over the corn red. Okay, so we're definitely getting somewhere, guys. Next, we are going to put some Ushabti bone onto the bits that are kind of like skulls or anything like that some of the Escher models actually have. But also, just stretching over to pick it up. I'm going to put some grey cere on, and this, grey cere and maybe a little bit of wraith bone. So the idea would be to have a mixture of both of the contrast primers on the hair, so we can get different shades of hair colour. Because if we use a contrast, maybe a little bit of a thin contrast on top of a wraith bone, it can look slightly different than it can be on top of a grey cere. So we're going to start by just basically painting in any of those, also any feathers, paint them in grey cere for starters. So now we've got a nice collection of grey and bone hair. We're going to paint it. But not, well, we're going to paint the hair in a minute. First off, we're going to put apothecary white on all the feather pieces, and on anything that you did Ushabti bone, of course, we're going to use skeleton horde. I'm not going to show you guys putting that on because, gosh, it's just easy. You just slap it on there, it'll do its job. Right then, guys, the bone has been painted, the feathers have been painted grey and, apothecary white. And now I'm going to be starting to apply some hair colours. So, I am going to apply some that are complete and totally just a solid colour. So I think I'm going to do a solid colour down here. There's a solid colour with them and a solid colour with them too. This lady here already had her hair painted. I painted it with the apothecary white. And then I'm just going to go over it again with Space Wolf Grey. So she's going to be kind of like a white haired, kind of like an older lady. The rest are going to be a nice mixture of colours. So what I'm going to try and do is to get some of the, especially with these two, or maybe even with like these two, is kind of paint part of the hair and then kind of use the other colour to sort of drag it out. I've done it before with some other stuff and it looks really good, but nothing ever this small before. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I'm also going to do a multicolour. So on this lady here, she's going to have a multicoloured mohawk. Possibly with the yellows, the reds, going up to, I think I need a darker green. I've got an orc flesh green, that's quite nice, but I might need a brighter one. I'll just bring X-ray flame across. And I'm not just using Games Workshop's contrast paints here, I've also got some Green Stuff World dipping inks. The Green Stuff World dipping inks are a lot thinner, I find, than Games Workshop's contrast range, which works really well for this, because sometimes some of the contrast range can be a bit too thick on the smaller bits and it kind of ruins the effect on the hair. Okay, so we've got some crazy hairstyles going on. We've also done some kind of normal hairstyles with just some of the yellows. We've got a couple that we've tried to mix the colours on. Don't know if that worked properly. That's the grey. Don't ignore the white bits because they're actually feathers, so we're going to be able to get them sorted sometime soon. That is the purple. Kind of comes out quite pinky, to be honest with you. Looks pretty good on some of these Escher. Crazy hair. Not exactly mohawk, but it is going up to different shades. And then we're going to do the mohawk hair. So, here it is. It's going to be the mohawk head. I'm going to try my best to replicate the mohawk bit on the skull cap. But I'm just going to concentrate on this bit here first. So, what we're going to do is get some Orc Green dipping ink from Green Stuff World. I'm going to put that at the back. So that's going to be kind of here. I'm wanting a yellow, orange, red, and then green. And I'm going to put that directly onto here on its own. Now when you're doing this, you've got to make sure you remember where your marker is for putting the next set on the opposite side. And like I said, we've got to make sure we can match this bit up as best we possibly can. My second colour is going to be Nasdreg Yellow. We're going to put that on all of the remaining hair. I should have got a bigger brush for this. Next up, I'm going to use a Griff Charger Orange. Sorry, not Griff Charger, it's Griff Hound Orange. Apologies. God knows where that came from. And I'm going to do all of that kind of from here all the way up where I want the orange and the yellow to intersect. Again, make sure that you don't go over. And what I'm going to do here. Now finally, we're going to get some Blood Angel Red. I'm going to finish it off. Try not to over interact with the green because you'll create a brown, and that's not what we're after. So that point there. That's about right. So I've got my hair done, and now we need to start painting the feathers. The thing is with the feathers is that this is it's a sci-fi fantasy world, so the feathers could be any colour you actually wanted them to be. But I always like to try and go down a realistic route if I can. Now I have kept some of them, I've painted a lot of the feathers white, mainly because I think painting them white is going to be quite a nice little bit of a contrast to some of the other colours that I'm going to go and do. I've got some browns, I've got some bones here, as you can see. Collection of paint here. So we've got Mournfang, we've got Baneblade, Shabtate, Screaming Skull, and we've also got Agrax Earthshade as a shade if we need to put that on there. I'm going to go through different feathers and paint them. Also going to do some classic Games Workshop white feather with like a blue and then a red stripe to it. It's something that I've always done. I've seen it ages ago and I don't know where I saw it on a Games Workshop model. I might have been in a store because I can never find any picture references for it. It's literally just like a red and a blue kind of stripe. It might have actually come from some of the Dark Angel stuff when they used to, be a bit more lean heavily into a lot more of the Apache and Native American stuff. Could have been from there. So I'll leave some of the ones white and then just put a stripe of like red and blue in there, and then the rest I'm going to do with different colours. So what I'm going to try and do is to record myself doing different colours on the model so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully this works. As you can see, we're not the greatest of patchwork of feathers, but they work, and I've put a quick shade. I did get Agrax Earthshade out, but then I just thinned down some Seraphim Sepia and put that over the top just to give it a slight browning. It's worked a treat, to be honest. From a distance, you're never going to know. So I've gone forth and titivated some little bits, put in little bits of silver on that needs a bit of silver, put in, correcting things such as any missed leather. Also did a little bit on the backs of these, kind of like hiding up some of the knife areas, just tidying it up in general. So now we are going to look at doing the bases. Now Necromunda bases can be a little bit, everyone's got their own way of doing it. I like to have it kind of look mucky, oily, dirty, but I also still give it a black trim, so like the rim of the actual base is still black. So I can mainly using one of these illustrious flat white markers, like names on the Escher gangers, because it's just so much easier when you're playing in a campaign just to know which Escher is which. So the painting on the base is going to be done with the player markers, paint pens. Should be kind of loaded ready. Yeah. I'm just using the gunmetal just to paint all that mixture to avoid. Once the silver's dry, we're going to add accents in, kind of like some on the raised edges, using the bronze from the same set. The set I got was the full metal, which of course comes with all of the metallics, and we're going to go copper. So we're just going to add that to certain areas just to highlight it up. So I've put the copper and the gold down, and then what we're going to do, as you can see there, I have got a vast array of shades. Now I'm going to put these shades into my palette. Yes, I use one of those kids push things because I'll be honest with you, it's fantastic for cleaning out when you're ready to make sure that there's no paint left, because you can just pop it once it's dried, pop it to the opposite side, get rid of it. Brilliant. I'm going to put each of these shades into a little tub in here. That way I'm going to be able to dip straight into the shade itself and then straight into another shade while it's still wet, and then put it onto the base. This does take a while to dry because I'm wanting to do it quite heavy. If there's pooling because it will make it look like there's oil and other types of coagulants that have fallen onto the Necromundian floor. So I'm making these bases look really cool. We're going to be doing that with a mixture of these. Hopefully, if I do a quick fast process, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. But essentially, like I said, just put bits, plop some paint in here, then dip straight into it, straight onto the base, and just don't even clean the brush, just keep dipping into others. Hence why I'm using this and not going straight from the pot, because I don't want to contaminate the pots with the other colours. To finish off, we're going to be looking at a very light dry brush of Rune Stormhorse Silver. I'm going to say Rune Fang Steel, but it's not. And then black rim the base. Oh, and name your sisters. And there we have it. We have the fully painted team, all with the plasma guns, the melter guns, and everything else I could possibly ever want to start adding to my Necromunda gang. This is an addition to my Necromunda gang, by the way, so don't look at it and think, what an odd gang it is. No, these are going to be added to the current Necromunda gang that I've got, which we're currently doing a campaign at my local club. And it's been going well. My army, I'm calling it an army simply because there's that many of them. Seem to have grown and grown and grown. I just seem to swamp the board with lots of my sisters. Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if you do want to see more. And we'll see you in the next one.